well, welcome back to our study in Proverbs 2:20. And kind of shorter last time. You watched the other one before this. It's a lot longer. That's the bulk of our lesson. So, a little lopsided. But in this point, I just wanted to talk about why we must enter the way. We talked about, last time we talked about who are the good and the righteous. We spent a lot of time looking at different Bible verses. We talked about what is their way, what is the pattern and the habit of their life, what does it look like. And then we talked about how did they get into the way. And it was what Proverbs 2 told us. The Lord has spoken wisdom. He's given out wisdom. Wisdom enters into your heart, and then you walk in the way. And that's what happens. So today we're looking at why we must enter the way. You got 2 points for you. First, the way we walk is connected to where we are headed. Makes sense, right? That works out in life. If I set my GPS to something, that's the way I'm headed. If I set it somewhere else, I'm going that way. So our direction in our lives, the course that our life is headed on, depends on the way we're walking. Which direction are we walking? And if we're walking contrary to the Lord, then that's where we're headed. We're walking towards the Lord, that's the way we're headed. So Matthew 7. I want to look at Matthew 7:13 through 14. That says, "Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy, that leads to destruction. And those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard, that leads to life, and those who find it are few." So here's the gate. This is the way, right? He's talking about the way. Jesus picks up this idea from Proverbs that he gave to Solomon many, many, many years before. And now he's teaching the same thing that Solomon taught to his son. Jesus teaching to his followers that says, hey, there's the gate. There is a way into this path of righteousness, of the good. And there's another gate, there's another way, there's another path, and we talked about that in the last 2 lessons, about the way of devious people, of those who use smooth speech, the forbidden woman, the evil man. Their path is the path that is easy, right? Their way is easy. The gate is wide, it's huge, it's easy to get into that. The way is easy because you're born that way. You don't have to get yourself into that way. That's the way you're born on. That's the way you go. That's the way you naturally are. And that leads naturally to destruction. So the way that we're looking at, the way that you're heading, this broad, this easy way, this wide gate, that's the way that you get to destruction. And if you're on that path, that's where you're heading. The other path has a narrow gate, which means it's not as easy to get through. And the way is hard. Once you get on the path, it's a hard path. It's not an easy path. It's not like the other path, which comes naturally. This path is against nature. This path goes against who you normally are. It's a hard path. But that's the path that leads to life. And so you see the 2 different ways. We're on one of these ways. That's the second point here. There's 2 paths, 2 ways, and you are on one of those ways. Why must you enter the way? Why must you enter this? Because that's the way to life. You need wisdom. Wisdom will bring you into that way. Wisdom helps you on the way, keeps you on that way, keeps you going, keeps you focused on the destination, which is life. Otherwise, you're on the broad path, headed to destruction, which is not good. So that's our lesson for today. Come back next time, we'll do some applications.